Happy New Year, everybody. This is our first meeting of the year, and while we don't do roll call anymore, I will note that Commissioner Whaley is participating virtually today because she's not well enough to be with us in person. Thank you. Can you hear us all right, Ellen?
I can, and I'm glad I didn't come because you'd all be sick the next day.
Okay, thank you. Let's begin with the Pledge to Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, great. We've all had a chance to review the agenda, which we've had a chance to see. Does staff have any changes to the agenda for today?
Yes, sir.
Okay, may I have a motion to approve the agenda today? Commissioner Hess moves, supported by Commissioner Lobaugh. Discussion, all in favor, raise your right hand. Like it's unanimous, fine. And we also have minutes from the regular meeting of the November 15th Planning Commission meeting. You've had a chance to review those. May I have a motion to approve? Vice Chair O'Neill and Commissioner Mueller seconds. Any discussion? All in favor, right hand, please. Unanimous again, great. This would be a time for appearance by citizens for items that don't appear on today's agenda. Is there anybody who would like to address the commission on an item that's not on today's agenda? Okay, seeing none, we'll move directly into the new business, which our first item is consideration of a recommendation to Town Council that the housing impact analysis be advanced as an amendment to the town's comprehensive plan housing element. This requires a public hearing, so I'd like to declare the public hearing open right now. And how we'll do this is we will hear the presentation from town staff, then we will have the public have an opportunity to give comment and questions, and we'll close the public hearing and go to session. So it looks like Missy Lewick is going to do the honors today. Welcome, Missy.
Hello, Missy Lewick, Planning Director for the record. It's nice to be before the Planning Commission today. I haven't been in front of you for a while. Today, we are having our second discussion about housing. We had a Housing Action Committee meeting at 10 o'clock today. But we're talking about the public hearing for the housing impact analysis. Shay, is the memo loaded? The folder is that right here? And the left is PDF. Okay. This is the final memo? Okay. So today is a public hearing to look at the housing impact analysis document and hear from the Planning Commission related to this work. So just to give some of the background on what we're talking about and why, the town of Hilton Head was instrumental in the passage of Act 57 by the South Carolina General Assembly. And that act allows local governments to utilize a portion of their accommodations taxes, both state and local, or both, to be utilized in the development of qualified workforce housing as a tourism-related expenditure. And a component of that is it's necessary for the town to utilize these funds of up to 15% is the requirement to complete a housing impact analysis, which was the document that was published in your packet. So we have completed that particular process and have solicited input from the home builders and developers and contractors and housing finance experts when putting together the document that's before you today. We worked with our housing consultant, Together Consulting, in drafting this particular document. And in addition to compiling the data and research for the housing impact analysis, we also received information from the Hilton Head Realtors Association, the Home Builders Association, as well as local builders and developers. So I'm going to go over, the analysis that was required within the act, and I'll give you some assurances too that all of this is incorporated within the document. So if the local governments opt to use ATAX for workforce housing, then they're required to do this housing impact analysis document prior to the second reading of the ordinance. And the analysis will help define the actual needs in the community and how these funds would help solve the workforce housing needs. So that was some of the language from the act itself. And within the act, workforce housing is defined, and I'll read that definition for reference. Workforce housing means residential housing for rent or sale that is appropriately priced for rent or sale to a person or family whose income falls within 30% and 120% of the median income for the local area, with adjustments for household size according to the latest figures available from the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development. So with that, then the steps necessary and the components that are required in the document are outlined here in this part of the memo. The housing impact analysis has to include cost of developing, constructing, and rehabilitating, improving, maintaining, and owning single-family or multifamily dwellings, purchase price of new homes, or the fair market value of existing homes, the cost and availability of financing to purchase or develop housing, and then an array of information related to housing costs, and then density, location, setback size, height development on lot and parcels of land development or subdivisions, so that kind of information. And then how the housing amendment affects moderate to income households. The impact analysis has to be based on costs associated with development, construction, and financing, purchasing, sale, ownership, or availability of median-priced single-family residence. The analysis may include estimates for larger developments as analysis of long-term effects of this particular ordinance amendment. And then that once those steps are included in the document itself, then the document needs to be submitted to some reviewing bodies, and those bodies are the Department of Revenue and the Tourism Expenditure Review Committee. And we have sent this document to both of those bodies, and then also the members of the legislative body of the local government, which as we go through the review process, they will receive this document as well. So that's really kind of the background and structure of the discussion today. The housing impact analysis document was in the packet, and includes both an executive summary sorry, I thought that was the plan. All right. It includes an executive summary, introduction, background, sorry. Employment analysis, the market condition analysis, housing market conditions, the construction and development costs, and solving the housing crisis, and then sources and appendix information. So I wasn't going to go over in detail what the report covers, but just am available to answer any questions. Again, it's a public hearing today on the document itself. And again, the process that we're going through is that this is an amendment to the comprehensive plan. And so this is actually going to be incorporated in what is currently the housing element that is in our plan, our comprehensive plan.
Before we begin with that process, let me clarify with Karen. Did we receive any comments on the public portal, Karen?
No, sir, we did not.
This would be a time that we would take public comment before we start discussing this as a commission. So if there's anybody in the audience who would like to address us on this topic, could you come forward and state your name? And anybody wanting to do that. So I will call the public hearing to a close and then ask what questions or comments any of the commissioners have. And remember to activate your mic so that everyone can hear. Commissioner, questions or comments?
Chairman, I have a couple of questions. It's Ellen.
Okay, go ahead, Ellen.
Missy, I just have some questions on the employment analysis and the background. This is a simple one here. Workforce housing is 120%. Is that consistent with the approach the town took a year or so ago?
What are you referring to?
In page 2 or 3, no. It's the definition of workforce housing that the Act implemented. Does the town have to change its definition, or was the town's definition consistent with this? Workforce housing, the 120%?
Sure. They're not identical definitions, but this is for the utilization of these funds. So it would have to meet, if there was a project that was meeting the requirements within our code for workforce housing, or was going to utilize the funds that are activated through this, they would have to meet both. If they are not doing a workforce housing project as defined in our LMO, but they are going to do a workforce housing as defined through this act, then it could be that they would have to meet one or the other, but typically I would think they would have to meet both definitions. And I can, as a follow-up, or if one of our staff members could provide the definition from the LMO for workforce housing, we can have that up in a couple minutes.
Okay, I appreciate that. Now, skipping over to the employment analysis will be my last set of questions, because the housing market analysis, looks pretty straightforward, but I got confused on the employment analysis. So if you go to your page 14 in the report, I'm going to try to sort of make this easy for everybody. So the tourism employment is up at 5% at 14,000. That's how I read it. But when I skip forward in the report, I get confused. A couple of pages later, they talk about 3 sectors: services, public services, and healthcare, and that totals 10,000. So is that 10,000 a subset of the 14,000? And then the next page goes on to talk about 12,450 jobs in food prep and serving. And then again, it goes on to top related occupations of 12,450 in food prep and serving. So I got lost in these numbers because I couldn't create a path. What is the total employment on Hilton Head, and what percent of these occupations that the consultant focused in on, I guess, that are housing burdened? So if the top occupations are 40,000 and tourism is 14,000, then I get to 37% of total employment for tourism. Where's the rest of it? So I'm just trying to figure out what the total employment is.
Okay. So, I wasn't totally following all of the areas that you're questioning. I understand you were asking about the tourism employment block that I have my cursor on right now, but I don't know where the other ones you were mentioning.
It's about a couple of pages later. I think it's either on page, it's like, my printer prints it off different. It's probably like about page 19. It talks about, let me see if I can pull it up too. Hold on a minute so I can give you the exact page. Make life easy for all of us. Bear with me. So if you go to page, into the employment analysis section, you go find it. Past the executive summary.
But the gist of your question is that you're wondering what the total landscape is for employment island-wide, regardless of the sectors, or you want them also by sectors?
Yeah, so I think it starts on page, let's see what page in your document this is. This is, yeah, so when you start on page, I think it's 14 of your document. Let me see, if it's 14. Page 17 of your document. So if you go to page 17 of your document, which is an employment analysis page, so the 14,000 the tourism employments remain, statistically steady. It's gone up 5%. Payrolls have gone up 23%, and so expenditures are about the same as they were in 2017. Do you see that table?
Are you talking about
It's
the
on-
sector change table or the table?
Table
below?
17 on page 14 in your document.
Table 17, I'm sorry, we were on
Correct,
page
yeah.
17.
Okay.
My gosh. Okay,
So I guess just a statistical question. So are the $217 adjusted for the 2020 dollars, or are they the original $2017, not adjusted for 2020?
oh. I would have to check back with our housing consultant on that specific question. Are the $2017 or have they been adjusted? I don't know the answer to that.
Okay, I'm just, I'm just trying to understand this, so I understand the size of the problem when it comes to people. I understand the housing side, but I'm not following some of this. So if we move forward to your page, I believe it is not 16. You start quoting statistics on your page 17. So between table 17 and page 17, you start talking off about 14,000 tourism workers, and then you narrow it down to on page 16, 10,000 workers in the services, public services, and healthcare industry. And then you go back to 12,450 jobs in food prep and serving. So, and then another page later, you start talking about total related occupations of the 12,450. So if I add everything up, I'm confused because I don't understand how many people who work on the island are part of the total employment picture. So I guess what I'm really asking, because I can figure the rest out, what is the total employment picture? You've painted a picture of where you think people are burdened, but I don't know what % of the working population they are.
Okay. Well, with that level of specificity and analyzing, now I can tell you that, if you look at the data source of some of these and like employment and wage data for the chart that is on page 17 is from the Hilton Head Island metropolitan area, and that is different than Hilton Head Island proper. And so some of these charts are
Okay.
pulling from different
Bigger
data.
MS. Okay. Yep.
Yeah, and so like the chart above it is from the Census Bureau, the 2000 to 2021 census. And so not all of the data sets are the same.
Okay.
And for example, we pulled from a variety of data sets to try to get a range of statistics to include just the breadth of the employment analysis, but how our employment stacks up with the region as well. How is the island's employment sector, the same or different or varied from the region? And so again, like looking at the data source in this document, but I could, as a follow-up, provide a response. I think if I'm going to try to summarize what your question was, and I think it was you wanted to understand the employment landscape and sectors, so the quantities and sectors on Hilton Head Island. Is that what your question was?
Partially. I think the easiest way for me to understand the impact to the workforce, other than dollars, in other words, what is the total employment on Hilton Head Island? Because I'm glad you pointed this out. So this table on page 17, which doesn't have a table number, is really Hilton Head, Bluffton, Beaufort, and Jasper probably. Is that what's in the metropolitan statistical area here?
Yeah, it's a boundary that includes portions of those areas.
So some subset of that 40,000 are Hilton Head employees, and some subset of that are in tourism. Is that how I could follow this to understand the impact to tourism and employment in general? I can't see the big picture. I guess that's the problem, and how it's impacting Hilton Head. So how many employees of the total employment are burdened in a best, statistical analysis?
Sure. Well, we had, on the page prior, we included the top island employers, and you can look at those. They're restaurant, resort, medical, and the school district. And so
Yeah.
you can then equate that to the sectors. We have, actually, it's the table, it's the chart
Yeah,
above.
that's kind of like, well, you're quoting 14,000, but that only like accounts for like 25 or 100 or 300 the top employers. So are you saying it's just the top employers who are burdened?
No, that's not what it's saying. It's just, that is a snapshot of the top island employers and the information and data from a 2021 report. And just to analyze those particular employers and those sectors have median salaries that have ranges based on the Bureau of Labor statistics and what those, affordable rents or home payments would be for those within those sectors. That is the purpose of this particular page.
Okay, and here's where I come back to this. I think that I still don't understand the total number of employees, people who live on the island who are burdened. I know that there are certain sectors that are burdened, but what percent of the total employment do those sectors represent?
So the total
So
number
you need the
in
total
percent?
employment number, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
If you're explaining to me that these top occupations, which are in a metropolitan statistical area, are the ones that show the biggest burden with respect to your financial analysis, which I have no issue with financial analysis. I'm still not clear how many workers on Hilton Head are impacted by this because of the mix of data. And so, we need to see some best estimate, if the census has it or BLS has it, of the total employment on Hilton Head, which is not in this report.
Okay.
Thank you.
I have a question. You're on the page. My question was, okay, so just on this, that page right there, what's affordable, what workers segment? So on the healthcare, 1,250. Now, is that based off a percentage of use of total income going toward living and a percentage of that, going to other things? Or is that can't be total income monthly?
That is based on a family size not spending more than 30% of their household income on housing costs, which is the industry standard. I think to give a broad overview of what the report should display for the community and for the comp plan is that it identifies the employment sectors, it identifies those segments and work sector classes that they're in, and then you can use additional data sets to determine what those typical salaries are. And again, we're using data sources, so it's what's reported on tax returns and then gets funneled through census reports and Bureau of Labor data statistics information. And then what's affordable is based on, again, a median income based on household size. And then that median income is calibrated by HUD and it's specific to a county. So Beaufort County has a median income of $111,000 for a family of 4, and that's our area median income for Beaufort County. Now, the document and employment analysis, if we're going to just kind of cover the intent of what was included in that is to show you the employment sectors and what those sectors could possibly afford from a housing perspective. The market analysis component is meant to show you the changes in both the rental market and the for sale market, and then also the current cost of housing in those sectors. And you can see the changes in the price points within the years that are included in that report. And then it analyzed the factors in housing costs, and on a statewide basis, it showed where households are cost burdened throughout the state. It identified just on a national level, there's a lot of migration occurring, and South Carolina is one of the states that is experiencing population growth and how that impacts the housing market overall. There's information on mortgages and mortgage rates, and again, a lot of information on housing market conditions. And then the construction and development cost information is from a variety of source data as well. Price per square foot information, housing by various product types, and then rental market costs, and then construction and development costs that we got from sources with the Home Builders Association and some local builders. And so it does include some pretty dramatic statistics on the change in the housing market, and some pretty significant increases in both rents, market rent, and the affordability of homes, and a lack of inventory really within all price points. And so I think those are some of the key takeaways when I look at the data that's presented here as well.
I just have some comments. First of all, I think the analysis report is very well done, and there's a lot of very good information in there. And I especially like the detail that was gone into regarding wages and the 30% rule for qualification. And sometimes it's important to just look at things in black and white. And while the median income, you said, is $111,000 for a family of four, that is by no means what a lot of the workforce is making. And quite frankly, just as an example, somebody making a family that makes $75,000 a year, let's say that's the earning person in the household makes $75,000, that's $36 an hour. Okay, so they'd be making $36 an hour, $75,000 a year, would qualify for a rent of $1,875. So sometimes looking at it in black and white really spells out what the problem is and where the problem is. And I think this report goes into great detail, and I'm happy to see that there's discussion about what the real wages are in some of these sectors, and what 30% qualification for rent means. And I guess my only last comment is that with the definition of workforce housing for qualification between, I think you said it was 30% and 120%, my only hope is that we we don't just go to the maximum, that we look at all sectors and all levels of that classification between the 30% and the 120%, and make sure we're serving all of those levels of workforce housing that we need.
Hence, you had a comment earlier. Did you still want?
Yeah, I agree with Chuck. I think this analysis is very comprehensive and very eye-opening, and obviously points to the sense of urgency that we have here on the island for workforce housing. My question would be, should we deploy these funds from ATAX? I think it indicated that it might bring in about $2 million a year. How would those funds be deployed to help make a dent in this very large deficit of workforce housing?
That is a question for, future decision-making. This enables the town to utilize up to 15% of ATAX monies for that purpose. And then how the town, how much is the town going to allocate is a future decision. And then how does that get programmed? Is it by request? There are some active requests that are moving forward through a process to utilize this funding source. And so, but it is, per this act, it is for the development of workforce housing. So it's for actual workforce housing production. Construction.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes, Missy, I agree, great report. Where does that dialogue happen? Because I'm assuming that a reallocation is going to have to happen with the ATAX dollars. That's going to be an interesting discussion. Does it happen, I guess my main question, does it happen in finance administration at the council level, or does it happen at the state level?
No, it's within the local budget
Okay.
process, yes.
In the revenue committee, or just in the overall budget process?
Well, if they make it, well, it can happen in a number of ways. If they make an amendment to the budget cycle outside of the regular budget, then it would go through, all items go through a council committee and then to council. And so the finance and administrative committee would be involved first and make a recommendation from there. So there's two separate tracks with this, and one is the actual prerequisite, which is what we're talking about now, is to actually have this housing impact analysis reviewed and approved, and then as part of your comprehensive plan, and then the budget process is something that that would also happen along a separate track.
Commissioner Whaley, I can no longer see your picture on my screen, so I don't know if you're satisfied with the answers that you have so far. Are you good?
Yes, I'm good. I think I would just ask Missy and her team. They did a lot of work on this. Understanding from a sector perspective is great. I think that the housing market analysis, I don't have any problem with. They did a great job on that. I'm just having trouble putting it in the context of total employment. There's an urgent need for certain sectors, but I think it's important for the community to understand of the total working population, how many are affected, so they can zero in on that. Thank you, Chairman.
Great. Thank you. Any other questions or comments from commissioners? My own takeaway from reading this report, which was 45 pages long, as you all know, was that if you didn't realize that there was a problem here with affordable workforce housing before reading that report, you certainly were convinced after analysis. Then, so it is the recommendation of staff, of course, that the Planning Commission, after hearing this report, recommended Town Council that the housing impact analysis be advanced as an amendment to the Town Comprehensive Plan housing element. What's your pleasure on that one?
I'll make a motion that we move forward with recommending this document be forwarded to council.
Second?
Second by Commissioner Mueller. Is there discussion by the commission?
Yes, I'd like to make an amendment to the motion.
Yes, Pam?
Ellen, I'd like to ask that the consultant and the staff put the total employment picture as either an addendum to the report or an asserted paragraph to the report.
I didn't hear it.
Ellen, could you repeat your amendment, please?
Yeah, my amendment is a request to move that the Missy or her team or the consultant insert a paragraph or a footnote that puts the sector problem in context of total employment. So just asking to add a total employment number to the report.
Is there a second to that amendment? None. We will go back to the original motion. That is to send along to Town Council recommendation that this impact analysis be advanced as an amendment. Vote. All in favor, raise your right hand. 7 votes here. Ellen, are you in?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Missy. Appreciate you. We have 2 other items. The first one is going to require a public hearing. It's known as STDV 001838. It's a request to rename a driveway located at 175 Squire Pope Road. This does require a public hearing, so I will open that at this point. We will hear a report from Johida Pfister and then find out if there's any public comment on that. So, Johida, welcome.
Hello, Johida Pfister, Hilton Head Island Fire Rescue Deputy Chief. So the first request is for the driveway that serves the parcel at 175 Squire Pope Road. We are recommending that Planning Commission approves the application based on the criteria that we outlined in our staff report and the LMO. A little bit about the project. That is the parcel where there are multiple buildings already on the parcel, and there is potential that there could be additional buildings added as well. The area highlighted in yellow is what would end up becoming the named driveway. A part of it is that if they do add any additional buildings, there are not addresses in that area to give them, and it brings that whole parcel together with addresses of its own. The proposed street name is Shrimpers Row. We chose that of her submissions because her narrative was that the name was chosen as for many years, the rows of shrimp boats have lined our docks, unloading the finest seafood anywhere. Our history in the seafood business goes back to the 1800s for the Hudson family. And when we vetted the names that they had submitted, captains and fishermen were both duplicated in other parts of the county. So the street names have been vetted and they meet the criteria that is set out in the LMO and the staff report. And if anybody has any questions, I would be happy to answer them. Sure. So there are. And in this case, so generally we have access easements or we have right-of-ways. And this does not fit either of those. We do have some other places where we have had to do this. One is at Sand Shark for the college. And then we also have had to do it at Hospital Center Common that runs through there to give it addresses. So it's not something that we do a lot as far as, you know, a driveway of a commercial area. But because that lot is so big, there is the potential for some other development. And instead of giving them, because they are run by different people as well, the Hudsons are not, the restaurant is being leased. And then there are going to be some things in the other buildings, and we really don't want to give them all the same addresses or continue to just give multiple addresses off of Squire Pope Road. So it's not something that we typically do, but in some certain circumstances to give individual addresses, it becomes necessary. Yes, yes.
Is that the rowing center also?
No, that is the dock for Hudson's, like for the seafood.
Other questions or comments from commissioners? Commissioner Hanson?
So you put in request a driveway name from Barbara Hudson. Is that who's asking for it, or is that what the name of the driveway is now?
No, they all have Squire Pope addresses right now. Barbara Hudson is the owner of the parcel. And so she is requesting that we name it.
Gotcha. Got it.
You know what? That location is the rowing center right here. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's not the restaurant. This one that's marked out as the rowing center.
That's the rowing center.
Yeah,
They did not pull the,
yeah, that is the rowing
That's the
center.
rowing center. Because you put the boats over here. My daughter was on the rowing team.
I am guessing they did not pull the right mapping.
It's like, we're renaming the rowing center? Up there.
Yeah.
Well, good eye, good eye.
Yeah, if you go to
Oh,
your
yeah,
right,
it-
that's Barbara
yes.
Hudson's.
Up here.
Yeah.
So that is our mistake in pulling the mapping.
Okay, let me ask if there's, let me, I need to get public comment first. Let me ask, is there anybody here today that would like to speak to us on the naming of this particular street? Seeing nobody, then I can close the public hearing now. Commissioner Hens, whatever you're wanting to do is fine. Move approval by Commissioner Hens, supported by Vice Chair O'Neill. Any discussion? All in favor, the right hand, please. Commissioner Whaley, are you in?
I'm in.
Thank you. Okay, we have one more item known as STDV 002-173-2023. It's another naming opportunity that does not require a public hearing, so but there will still be an opportunity for people to speak after Joe Haida gives his presentation.
So this one, the proposed street name is Santee Place. It is the request on behalf of the owner of the parcel for a new access driveway that's located off of Ned Court. And staff recommends that Planning Commission approve the application based on the criteria that we outlined in the staff report and the LMO. This one, it is off of Gumtree and Ned Court. This is Ned Court right here. And in addition, for this one, the parcel can have multiple homes on it, 3. And so generally, our criteria is that once you can have more than 2 homes on a single lot, we don't want to we want to name it so that they have individual addresses so that we're not trying to count multiple homes back off of a driveway. So this is they're proposing to put 1 home in right now, and we did not want to give it a Ned Court address and then come back and change it later. So we are trying to prepare for them being able to place 3 homes on that property. And so the proposed street name is Santee Place. The names that they chose were family names. The other one was Katie, which is already duplicated, and the other one was their last name, which is not as easy to pronounce as Santee. So that is why we went ahead and chose Santee. So again, the street names have been vetted and they meet the criteria that is set forth in the LMO and our staff report. And again, I'd be happy to answer any questions on that one.
Commissioner, questions?
And could he fit 3 houses on that property?
It has the density to have
Okay.
3 homes.
Yeah, all right.
Anyone from the public like to address us on the naming of this particular street? I don't see anybody, so what's the pleasure of the commission? Commissioner Lobo moves to approve, supported by Commissioner D'Arienzo. Any discussion? All in favor? Right hand. Commissioner Whaley,
All
are you
in.
good?
Yep, in. Yep.
Okay, that's unanimous. Okay, I think we're there, right? Thank you, Joe Haida. I don't have any report today. Are there any staff reports today, Shay? No, sir. Okay. Any other questions or comments by the commission? Not, we stand adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you. Happy New Year, everybody.